Before I start, sino nang nakarinig ng big data and analytics? Taas ng kamay. Anyone? Sige. So, medyo konti lang, no? But anyway, I'll try to brief you about it, and then bakit ko tinali sa theme ng Congress yung ngayon, harnessing the power of me. And narinig nyo na, no, sa a lot of speakers this morning, we're talking about mobile apps, we're talking about being an entrepreneur, talking about kung ano yung pwede nyong gawin, no, as consumers, yung mga sponsors natin para sa Congress na to, like OLX for example. And dahil sa mga mobile devices nyo, or actually sa engineering field, pwedeng tawagin siyang mga sense-making devices. Dahil sa dami ng mga sensors na nandito, maraming masasabi tungkol sa inyo, yung device nyo, yung mga ginagawa nyo sa internet, sa Facebook, sa mga pag-post nyo sa Twitter. So it's something that hindi lang yung information na binibigay nyo, and para i-share nyo sa mga ibang tao or yung mga hinahanap nyo, but at the same time, dahil sa mga ginagawa nyo sa internet at nakikita ng mga iba't ibang tao at kumpanya, may power kayo doon, no? Then that's something that's actually very, very powerful. At maraming kumpanya are actually striving to see kung paano male-leverage yung market, no? Yung tao na actually gumagamit ng cellphone, ng internet service, etc. No? So, kaya napansin nyo, no, sa ibang mga cellphone providers, padami na ng padami yung mga ads na natatanggap nyo. And for example, sa mga gumagamit ng Google na search engine, yung kaibigan nyo, pag nag-search ng isang phrase or word, iba yung ranking kaysa sa ranking ng kaibigan nyo. Iba yung mga lumalabas. And dahil napapattern na ng Google, I'm sure narinig nyo to, napapattern na ng Google yung results based on yung profile nyo. Especially if you have a Gmail account, and then may Google Drive, and then may Gmail, nakikita na nila kung ano yung mga interest mo, and then natatarget na nila na pag nag-search ka nitong phrase na to, let's say university, doon galing sa University of Luzon, so yun ang ipaprioritize niya. Tapos kung sa iba naman, kung taga-STI, para ma-STI yung lalabas, no? So, ganun klase yung power na ngayon, no, ng internet, and sa inyo, no, naka-customize para sa inyo. So, before I start on big data and analytics, may papakita ko mga video, and doon na ngayon nagsa-struggle yung mga kumpanya, no, on how to actually market, and sinasabi nila, no, sa mga nagma-marketing, yung sinasabi nila na market of one, demographic of one. Sa Time Magazine, a few months ago, may cover na nakalagay parang the power of me, no? Or the me generation. And dahil empowered na kayo, no? And because of what you have at yung mga information nyo, malaki yung power na nasa inyo ngayon, no? And that's where companies like IBM and other companies, marketing companies, consumer companies, are really trying to cope up with that para matarget sa inyo kung ano mga gusto nyo talaga. Okay? So, may papakita akong 5 videos, and I hope it'll give you an idea nung theme ng talk ko ngayon, which is the power of me with big data and analytics.
Ignacio Estrada said, "If a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn." Who knows who Ignacio Estrada is, but his words are prophetic. Because in 5 years, classrooms themselves will learn about each student, then personalize coursework accordingly. Today, nearly 2 out of every 3 adults worldwide have not achieved the equivalent of a high school education. Of course, teachers do teach to individual student needs as much as they can in a class that might have 30 kids. But soon, with the help of cloud-based learning systems, teachers' efforts will go much further. Imagine a system that knows you're a visual learner with a math phobia. Imagine also that you are that person. Not only will the classroom create a lesson plan to help you master algebra, it'll preempt difficulties in calculus and even tailor coursework toward a specific career, maybe even one that involves math. With time, teachers will be able to reach more students in more meaningful ways. And with students learning at their own pace, we'll move beyond grades, credits, and syllabi. I love it when I have the chance to say syllabi. It's the end of the era of one-size-fits-all education and the beginning of personalized experiential learning. And isn't learning what education's all about?
So that's an example no na personal experiential learning and targeted para sa individual person kung paano siya matuto, kung ano yung mga strengths niya, yung mga weaknesses niya. And ganun klase na patungo yung mundo natin, no? And as IT practitioners, as IT CS students, information sciences, information management, yung nag-e-enable yung ganun klase is IT, no? Sa likod nun, the IT systems that actually enable those type of things are something na ginagawa nyo na or gagawin nyo in the future, no? And there's a lot of companies actually trying to hire people who can actually do those type of things. So other examples, especially sa consumer market naman, kanina sinabi ni Samakoba ng Intel na local, no? Local is very, very important. And you'll see where it's actually moving right now and kung bakit importante yung buy local and why local stores are becoming more important again.
Local stores have been getting spanked by online retailers for years, and last year's spanking was more painful than ever, as online sales for the first time topped $1 trillion worldwide. Ouch. But in 5 years, brick and mortar stores will have fought back to become better than e-tailers can ever hope to be, merging the tactility and immediacy of physical retail with the richness and personalization of online. Local shops will make online-only stores seem downright quaint. Advances in augmented reality, wearable computing, and location-based technologies will give shoppers richer in-store experiences. And as consumers share more personal information, they'll see retail stores transform into immersive shopping destinations personalized just for them. Store staff, meanwhile, will be expert on every product in the store. Buyers will tap cloud-based cognitive systems to get a clear understanding of their customers and plan store inventory more precisely. So you can be sure they have just your style and just your size and can even offer same-day delivery wherever you are. Honey, does this future make me look fat? Not at all.
Okay, so yun naman sa shopping, no? And a lot of stores are actually trying to do that right now, no? And even our cellular telephone companies, alam nila kung dahil sa depende kung i-on yung GPS or even sa location yung cellphone nyo, alam nila where you actually go to, where you hang out, etc. So natatarget nila, no? And pwede nilang i-target na kunyari dumaan ka malapit sa isang red ribbon, pwedeng maglabas yung red ribbon ng alert na, oh, may discount if you actually buy Black Forest cake or yung mango cream pie nila na seasonal lang. So those type of things are becoming more and more important. And I think this morning may issue or question on privacy and security. And instead of actually guarding you, it will actually help you. And this is what a prediction 5 years from now can actually, what security will turn into.
My fellow worrywarts, rejoice. For in 5 years, we'll each be protected from identity theft and fraud by our own digital guardian. Let's call him Steve. While we're at it, let's put him in a suit, some mirror glasses, and an earpiece. Nice. With 12.6 million victims of identity fraud last year in the US alone, Steve is arriving none too soon. Through powerful cloud-based analytics, your Steve will know you inside and out and have your back 24/7. For instance, he'll know that you usually wait to fill up your gas tank till you're almost empty and on your way home from work, and that you bought a hot dog? Whoa, Steve knows you're a vegetarian and that your tank is full. So when an imposter tries to buy a hot dog and a half tank of gas at 11 a.m., Steve informs you, then takes action. Security is evolving from being based on rules like passwords to being automatic and based on who we are. In time, security will be less a barrier than an enabler, made stronger through us just being us. So all we'll need to worry about is what to worry about next.
Okay, so those are just 3 examples now. IBM usually comes up with what they call a 5 in 5. 5 technologies that will shape the world and that will actually see 5 years from now. And you saw actually 3 of the latest ones. I won't dwell on the other 2 anymore. The 4th one is on healthcare and delivering personalized healthcare. And then the 5th one is improving our cities. No? And for those of us or for those of you who live in Metro Manila or metropolitan areas, it's becoming more and more congested, more urbanized, more crowded, more traffic, and there are really ways that IT can actually help as well. So I'll jump into the meat of the topic now, and just as a review, we're actually in a new era of computing right now. So sa mga, I'm sure naalala nyo, one of your first IT courses is the history of computers, the history of computing. So we started with the tabulation era. Yung pagbibilang, manual processes, their pen and paper, etc. No? And so we actually tabulation machines, yung sa tinatawag. And the next, and which we're all a lot familiar with, and a lot of curriculum in the schools are actually on the programmatic era, no? The programmable era. We're moving towards a new era of computing which is called cognitive computing. And ito yung mga klaseng skills na we have to really shift towards too, no? And as students, we studied search, deterministic, fixed databases, enterprise data, machine language, simple outputs, no? And now we're moving towards discovery, probabilistic. Ano yung occurrence no? If you do a search, yung probability nun, na yun ang hinahanap mo, basta magbibigay siya ng sagot, no? And it's okay, and it will iterate and improve as it goes along. And then big data, one of the phrases I mentioned, natural language, how we actually communicate, so that's why Apple had Siri and others, no? Samsung and Android, they're doing something similar, yung Android Wear will actually have that. And then becoming more and more intelligent yung systems. So as an IT CS student, now is your time. And dahil a lot of these will be enabled by what you actually do, what you studied in school. And once again, I would really like to emphasize there's really a lot of companies that are looking for talent for this, no? Especially as we move towards a more cognitive era of computing. So you've heard some of these technologies already this morning, and dun sa video, cloud computing, mobile, social business, and the other one, which is actually analytics. So yung tatlo, cloud, mobile, social, I'm sure you're all very familiar with, you're users of it, you know what to do, you know what they're all about. And it's on the 4th topic that I'd like to dwell in the few remaining minutes I actually have left. So I just wanted to emphasize here, and I'm sure you guys have heard this in several different fora or venue or talks. There's mobile devices, there's so much information, ang daming pwedeng gawin doon. Kahit nga pag gumagawa kayo ng homework, paminsan sasabihin nyo, information overload. May isa-search ako, ang dami-daming opinion. This person has this opinion about this topic to, iba yung opinion niya. Anong gagawin ko? No? How do I sort through information overload? Because there's just way too much data. And hence, they're actually coining it as big data. There's a lot of mobile connections. There's so much information again, and actually very valuable information about yourself, especially sa mobile. There were studies na nagsasabing mas importante ang when and where. Actually, it's not your name. So we always grew up na thinking na yung nag-identify sa atin yung pangalan natin. And that's a label. And that's what we use, di ba, yung pangalan natin. But now, because of all these technologies, because of what you guys are doing and will do, IT and computer scientists, it's now when and where can actually identify you. So where you go to school, where you hang out with your friends, where you go home, kung naka-on yung GPS nyo sa phone nyo, and you're using an Android phone, makikita nyo sa Gmail account nyo where you're actually going. And makikita mo, may pattern talaga. So during the week, kuhang-kuha yung pattern na yun. And that profile ng kung saan kayo galing at anong oras, and just like what the last video mentioned, yung where, when, yun yung nagpagasya, di ba? 2 o'clock, nasa trabaho dapat. So that actually identifies you already. It becomes more and more as an identifier for you. Kaya importante yung mobile. 1 out of every 7 people spend, 1 out of every 7 minutes are spent online in Facebook. 40% more people interact in online than anything else, than face-to-face. So you can read through the slide now. So what's the point of this slide is maraming data and maraming pwedeng gawin doon, no? And then tweets, tulad nung pag-tweet nyo ngayon dito sa conference na to and what you actually do. So there's just way too much data and ang daming pwedeng gawin doon, no? I'm just shifting to the slides very quickly in the interest of time so yung point lang doon is maraming data and maraming pwedeng gawin doon. But I wanted to take a pause here and tell you that data and big data can be classified into 4 different things, no? And dito, kaya kung may narinig kayong Hadoop, may narinig kayong pwede pa naman database, may SQL, pwedeng no SQL na. What are those? No? Because there's data at rest, there's data in motion, and kailangan mabilis yung data, no? And kailangan sometimes you need to act on it right away. There's data in many different forms. Structured, ibig sabihin maayos mo, malalagay mo sa database. Unstructured are natural language, for example. Books, for example, especially mga fictional books, they have a point. It's always based on some form of truth, and you really have to sort through that, no? Kung ano talaga yung gusto sabihin. So there are many forms of data, and then data sometimes data in doubt. You're not sure whether you can actually trust the data that actually comes to you. So those are the different forms, there are different techniques for doing that, and it's not just a one-size-fits-all in terms of yung programming. You've seen this, Harvard Business Review talks about big data and more and more. The recent election, with Obama winning his 2nd term, he actually used analytics. Bago siya pumunta at magsalita sa audience, what his analytics team did is, he wanted to know kung ano yung mga concerns ng mga tao. Ano ba yung hinanakit nila? Pupunta siya sa Detroit, for example, doon dati yung car manufacturing. So problem nila is issues nila are crime. Issues nila are tulad sa RoboCop, di ba? It's in Detroit, Michigan, yung recent movie lang. And then issue nila is jobs. So he knows na in that specific area, yun yung concern nila, he'll talk about that. He'll see how his programs actually address the top 1, the first, second, or third, or the top 3 concerns of the audience he's actually speaking to. So next city that he goes to, pwedeng iba na naman yung concern. So he'll really talk to that, and that's how he got the hearts and the votes of the people. No? So really using analytics. And how do you do that? No? I can say it very simply, but how do you harness, how do you know which are the top 3? Traditional, you do surveys, kakausapin mo yung mga tao. But now, because a lot of things are now interconnected, nasa online, pwede mong makuha yun eh. And that's the stuff that you guys will be doing in the future. The third figure there is actually spells a name, hey, you're having a baby. But actually, the stuff you buy can actually tell kung ano yung stage, what type of person you are, male, female, age, and if there's some life milestones that you're going to have, no? This actually is yung hey, you're having a baby is actually a problem that Target had because Target is a sort of dime or budget department store in the US, and they wanted to be proactive. No? Ina-market nila sa mga individual tao. Magpapadala sila ng mga coupon. Nauuso na sa Pilipinas rin to. No? Magpapadala sila ng coupon. And then, they figured yung isang nagsashop sa kanila, bili ng stuff na sa tingin nila, magkakaroon ng anak. So they sent coupons to the house of that lady, and yung tatay lumusob sa Target. Sabi niya, why are you sending my teenage daughter coupons na assuming she's actually going to give birth? So parang galit na galit yung tatay. Parang ininsulto niyo ako and stuff like that. No? So 2 weeks later, the dad came back and said, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, my daughter's pregnant pala. So mas nakuha pa ng store, no? Because of the stuff that daughter was actually buying. We used analytics in 2 years ago. There was elections here in the Philippines, and we just looked at social media analytics, not as complicated as ginawa ni Obama, but ABS-CBN worked with IBM to look at kung sino yung mga senator candidates or those aspiring, kung sino yung pinag-uusapan ng mga tao. So what we actually had to do was, there are a lot of programs na in English, but we really had to program it for yung mga words sa Filipino, sa Cebuano, and others, no? And do you know what the top tweeted or so we looked at Twitter and we looked at Facebook, and ano yung top phrase na tweet ng mga tao when a candidate was talked about? Any guess? Hindi yung tao, no, yung phrase itself. Nalaman nila and surprise, we actually worked with an international team to develop this here in the Philippines. And yung top phrase sa Pilipinas is ha ha ha. So parang, and then we really had to detect whether it was sarcastic, whether whether it was a positive or a negative sentiment to that candidate, and we had to dissect that from the context, no. So that's why it's moving towards what we call cognitive computing. So analytics, just making the case for it. Sino nakanood ng Moneyball with Brad Pitt? And so what Brad Pitt did was, kulang yung budget niya ng Oakland Athletics. He's the general manager of the Oakland Athletics at that time. And kulang ang budget niya, but he came up with a way, instead of yung traditional way of looking for upcoming athletes or magagaling na athletes na they look at them play, and may certain stats sa baseball, which is a very stat-intensive sport, just like basketball, no? So, kakaano lang natin sa gilas. It can also be used in basketball, wherein number of assists, number of points shot, etc. And how can you judge from all those different numbers? Sometimes you just look at shots, and maybe it didn't matter or what, no? And sa Moneyball, he looked at a stat that people sometimes people actually overlooked, and nakita niya na it made a connection to paano sila makakascore, no? And that was actually very, very, very good, no? In the recent US Open, it actually just ended over the weekend, a few days ago. Instead of yung points or yung lobs or yung volley, yung mga nagte-tennis sa inyo dyan, what they looked at, gaano kahaba yung tinakbo ng tennis player. At yung pinakamaikli, right now, hindsight obvious, but yung pinakamaikli, yun yung may magandang game. And in fact, that's how they were able to predict the men's and women's champion for the US Open tennis. So there are several examples, but I also want to cite na analytics can be used for bad. And anong movie to? Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier. And I don't know if you remember yung Zola's algorithm, person search finding algorithm, tapos yun yung titirahin ng helicarrier. So there was the algorithm mentioned there is it's really analytics, no? They're not doing it for good, but it's becoming more and more mainstream, those type of things, no? And there are a lot of series. There's Person of Interest also, a series. There's Numbers and all that, no? So So analytics, and I'll jump to the ending slide after this, is driving business results or even results. You can scrap out the name business, driving results using mathematical and statistical tools for decision making. And don't be scared by the mathematical and statistical there. There are a lot of programs and tools that will actually do the math for you and make connections to certain data na kala nyo walang connections before. And how you actually train them through machine learning, artificial intelligence, for those of you who took those courses, and putting it all together from the data that you actually have, looking at the data, is what analytics is all about. So I'll skip to these slides, no? So the gap is what we don't know. But and for the geeks who want to look at architecture, this is how it's all put together. Different applications. So since most of your students, I just wanted to highlight that a data scientist is what they say is the sexiest job of the 21st century. And you'll see more and more of that. No? There are local companies right now building analytics teams. There are local companies right now hiring data scientists. There are local companies right now hiring business analysts and architects. And they're hiring IT and CS people like yourselves, no? Students like yourselves. So now is really the time to be an IT and a CS student. Ang daming pwedeng gawin. And as we shift towards different eras, no? And this is a study by I think it's McKinsey, Global Institute, saying na globally may gap talaga ng analytic skills. So dati we heard about nursing demand. Now there's really a lot for IT and CS, and it's actually real. We see more and more when we talk to the BPO industry, some of their questions sometimes are, what's next for the Philippines, no? And right now we actually see it in analytics. We see more and more companies, logistics companies, banks, financial sector, services, even call centers, moving and needing analytics professionals and graduates. Okay, so I just wanted to highlight, and this is my last slide, that we've worked with CHED, the Commissioner on Higher Education. We've inserted specialization tracks for analytics in IT and business. Kasi kung mapapansin nyo, you drive business results, outcomes. So it's really a marriage between business and IT. Business will tell you the concerns, their questions. And then IT will tell you, okay, this is the architecture, this is the algorithms, this is what needs to be done. And then as you develop a system that actually learns from all this data that comes from the different business units or even in your schools, that's when you can actually come up with good insights. So that's why it's both in business and IT, and we're looking at developing it across the board. There's some discussions right now on bringing it down to K-12, professional training, etc. So if you're still in school, you'll see more and more of your schools actually offer business analytics. So with that, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat, and I hope you learned at least something new this afternoon. Thank you.